3 in the morning, and my wife, Chloe, burst through the front door, half carrying a man covered in blood. Leo Vance. Ethan, my God, help us. Leo's been attacked. You have to get us to the hospital. I stood on the landing in my pajamas, watching her tremble, her voice tight with panic. I watched the way she held him. Her world shrunk to the man in her arms, with no room left for me. No, I said, my voice flat. What did you say? She looked up at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. He's dying. Better if he does, I said, turning to go back to our bedroom. And make sure you clean up the blood. Don't stain the hardwood floors. She screamed at me from the foyer, a raw, hysterical sound, calling me cold-blooded, heartless. But she would never know that just 3 hours earlier, I had sat in my home office and watched the entire security video from their hotel room. I had listened to her call me her meal ticket. I had listened to her say that Leo was the one she truly loved. And now, she had the nerve to drag her lover into my home and beg for my help. Incredibly naive. 3 hours earlier. I was in my office, reviewing quarterly reports, when my assistant, Sarah, knocked softly and entered. Mr. Cole, that package you were expecting has arrived. She handed me a small flash drive, her expression a careful mixture of professionalism and concern. It's all on here. Do you want to watch it now? I nodded and gestured for her to leave. To say I wasn't nervous would be a lie. Hiring a private investigator to follow your own wife. I never thought I'd be that man. But Chloe's behavior had become too erratic to ignore. Out all night, claiming she was with friends. When I'd call them, they'd say they hadn't seen her. Her phone was surgically attached to her hand, 24/7. She even took it into the shower. She used to be so affectionate. Now, she flinched if I tried to touch her. And then there was Leo Vance, her old college buddy, her so-called guy best friend. 3 months ago, he had suddenly reappeared in our lives, a constant presence. Chloe always had an excuse. Leo was having a tough time at work. Leo was going through a bad breakup. He just needed a friend. A friend. I let out a bitter laugh and plugged the flash drive into my laptop. The first file was from the hotel's hallway camera. There was Chloe, arm in arm with Leo, heading into a room at the Langham. She was wearing the dress I had just bought her, smiling with a kind of unbridled joy I hadn't seen in years. My hand started to shake. The second video was from inside the room. I watched her take off that dress. I watched her pull Leo into a deep kiss. I watched her give herself to another man. It felt like a fist was crushing my heart, squeezing the air from my lungs. But that wasn't what enraged me the most. The audio file. Their conversation was the fatal blow. Leo, you won't believe it. Ethan just sent me another 50 grand. Told me to buy myself something nice. Haha, he really is the ultimate sucker. When are you going to tell me your secret? How do you train a guy to be such a perfect walking ATM? Oh, don't be so crude. Ethan is good to me, but you know I love you. So when are you leaving him? You can't keep this up forever. What's the rush? Just a little longer. I want to wait until I've moved a good portion of his assets into my own accounts. If I divorce him now, I'll walk away with next to nothing. You're a wicked little thing. I love it. Of course I am. How could a boring guy like Ethan ever understand me? All he knows is work and making money. He doesn't have a romantic bone in his body. Not like you. You know how to make a woman feel alive. So you're just going to keep playing the happy couple? I have to. Just last night, I told him I was ready to start trying for a baby. You should have seen his face. He lit up like a Christmas tree. He's so easy to fool. Their laughter crackled through the speakers, stabbing in my eardrums. Walking, easy to fool. 5 years of marriage was nothing but a long con to her. I thought about last night, how she'd snuggled against my chest and whispered about wanting a child. I thought about how I'd been so excited I couldn't sleep, already thinking of names. It was all an act. I sat there in my leather chair, letting the rage and despair wash over me. Then, slowly, a cold calm settled in. If you think I'm so easy to fool, then I'll show you exactly what a sucker can do when he fights back. 02-inch, are you out of your mind, Ethan? Chloe's shriek pulled me back to the present. I turned around. She was still holding Leo, tears streaming down her face. Leo's hurt, Ethan. He needs a doctor. I glanced dispassionately at him. There was blood on his face, sure, but his breathing was even. Looked like superficial cuts at worst. A decent performance, but I'd already seen the real show. I said no. I repeated, sinking onto the living room sofa and grabbing the TV remote. If you want to go to the hospital, call an Uber. Just stop bothering me. How can you be like this? Chloe's voice cracked. He's my best friend. Best friend, I thought with a sneer. The kind of friend you sleep with. So what? What does that have to do with me? Ethan, what has gotten into you? You were never like this. She let go of Leo, who slumped against the wall, and rushed over to me, grabbing my arm. Is it stress from work? We can see a therapist tomorrow. Okay. Stress from work? A convenient excuse. I'm perfectly fine, I said, shaking her hand off. I just don't want to get involved in your drama. Drama, she screeched. You call this drama? Isn't it? I met her gaze, my own eyes cold as ice. A grown man gets into a fight in the middle of the night, and instead of calling the police or an ambulance, he has you bring him to another man's house for help. What would you call it? Chloe was speechless. Just then, Leo spoke up, his voice theatrically weak. Ethan, man, I'm sorry. I know this is a huge imposition. I just didn't know what else to do. Even as he spoke, I could see a flicker of defiance in his eyes. It was a look that said, your wife is wrapped around my finger. What are you going to do about it? Pathetic. Didn't know what to do. I stood up, looming over him. That's your problem, not mine. Ethan, Chloe finally erupted. You are being completely unreasonable. Leo is my friend. Can't you help him when he's in trouble? Why should I? Because I'm your wife. My wife. I laughed. A short, humorless sound. Do you even know what a wife is supposed to do? She stared at me, confused. A wife is supposed to be at home with her husband, not dragging another man into the house in the middle of the night. What are you talking about? Leo is hurt. Of course I'm going to take care of him. Take care of him? My voice dropped, becoming dangerously quiet. You seem to be taking very good care of him. Your shirt is soaked through. Did you cry it wet for him? Chloe glanced down at herself, and her face paled. She had been crying hard, and her white silk blouse was plastered to her skin, the outline of her bra clearly visible. No one would look at that scene and think it was innocent. I was just worried about him. Worried? I cut her off. Have you ever been that worried about me? Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She knew the answer. She had never, not once, shown that kind of frantic concern for me. I want a divorce, she suddenly shouted, her voice shaking with rage. I'm done, Ethan. I can't live like this. A divorce? I almost laughed out loud. You want a divorce? That's perfect. It saved me the trouble. But not this easily. Not on your terms that you're not walking away with my money. Not a single cent. Fine, I said coolly. But we'll do it by the book. Assets get divided according to the law. What's that supposed to mean? It means premarital assets remain separate and marital property is split 50-50. However, I paused, letting the word hang in the air. Things get a little different when one party is guilty of adultery. The color drained from Chloe's face. What are you implying? Nothing at all, I said, sitting back down. Go ahead, file for divorce. I won't stop you. She stared at me, her expression a mixture of shock and confusion. She couldn't comprehend how the husband who had always been to her will was suddenly standing his ground. Leo chose that moment to play the martyr again. Chloe, don't fight with him because of me. I'll figure out how to get to the hospital myself. No, Chloe spun around. You're too hurt to go alone. Watching her fuss over him made the fire in my gut burn hotter. On the surface, however, I remained a mask of indifference. Do whatever you want, I said, standing up. I'm going to bed. I have work in the morning. Ethan, Chloe called after me. Are you really just going to walk away? Without looking back, I said, from now on, your problems are not my problems. As I walked upstairs, I heard her on the phone downstairs, her voice choked with sobs as she called for an ambulance, probably complaining to the dispatcher about her cruel, heartless husband. She had no idea. I knew everything, and my revenge was just getting started. The next morning, I went to the office as usual. Chloe hadn't come home. She was probably at the hospital, playing the dutiful friend to her lover. The thought made my stomach turn. Mr. Cole, you don't look well today, Sarah noted with concern. I'm fine, I waved it off. I need you to run a full background check on a Leo Vance. I want everything you can find. The more detailed, the better. Right away. Sarah was efficient. Less than an hour later, the file was on my desk. Leo Vance, 30, creative director at a boutique ad agency. His resume looked impressive, but the financials told a different story. The agency was drowning in debt. No wonder he was so eager to sink his teeth into a rich man's wife. I studied the report, a plan already forming in my mind. You like to play games, Leo? Let's play. I picked up my phone and dialed a number. Mr. Henderson, it's Ethan Cole. Yes, doing well, thanks. I'm calling to discuss a potential collaboration. Henderson was the biggest client of Leo's agency. If he pulled his account, half an hour later, I had made several more calls. Starting today, Leo Vance's company was about to face a storm it couldn't weather. And this was only the beginning. Chloe finally came home that afternoon. She looked exhausted, her eyes red and swollen from crying. Ethan, she began, her voice thick with emotion. I'm so sorry about last night. I looked up from my desk. This pitiful, fragile act used to work on me every time. Now it just disgusted me. Sorry for what? I asked, feigning ignorance. About Leo. I know you don't like him, but he really is just a friend. He was hurt, and I was so frantic. I said things I didn't mean. Please, don't be angry. Just a friend. You weren't acting like just friends in that hotel room. I'm not angry, I said evenly. You're the one who said you wanted a divorce. I was just upset. I didn't mean it. She came and sat on the edge of my desk, reaching for me. We're married. We can't just throw everything away over one stupid fight. A stupid fight? Is that what you call infidelity? I didn't push her away, but I didn't respond to her touch either. How's Leo? I asked. The doctor said it's just minor injuries, nothing serious. He wanted me to apologize to you for him. He feels terrible that he caused a fight between us. Caused a fight? You didn't seem too concerned about that when you were in bed together. Good to hear, I nodded. Now that he's fine, he's no longer welcome in our home. What do you mean? I don't want to see him here ever again, I said, looking her straight in the eye. That's not an unreasonable request, is it? Chloe's face tightened. But he's my friend. You can see your friends anywhere else. You don't have to bring them home. She bit her lip, then finally nodded. Okay, I understand. Seeing her back down, I smirked internally. You're scared now, aren't you? Too late. Over the next few days, I acted as if everything was back to normal. I was attentive, considerate, the perfect husband. Chloe, believing my anger had passed, started going out frequently again. She thought I was oblivious. Meanwhile, I was quietly tightening the noose. Leo's agency lost 3 major clients in a row. Through my network, I heard he was starting to panic. He called Chloe several times. His voice edged with desperation. He was likely trying to get her to ask me for a bailout. He picked the wrong man to ask. That night, Chloe broached the subject tentatively. Honey, Leo's company is in a bit of a rough patch. I was wondering if you could. Could what? Could you help him out? She asked, watching me carefully. Maybe send some business his way. I put down the Wall Street Journal and looked at her. And why would I do that? Because he's my friend. A friend. I scoffed. I have plenty of friends, and I don't see you losing sleep over their businesses. Why is he so special? I thought if we could help, we should. Help him with what? I stood up. Business is war. His company is failing because he can't run it properly. It deserves to go under. Why should I be the one to save him? But, no buts. I cut her off. Don't bring this up again. Chloe bit her lip, her eyes filled with disappointment. She was probably shocked that her usually compliant husband was so adamant. But she didn't know this was all part of my plan. Let them worry. Let them despair. And then, I'll deliver the final blow. The next day, I left work early. Sure enough, I found Leo in my living room. He was sitting on the sofa, talking animatedly with Chloe, a desperate look on his face. They both froze when I walked in. Ethan, Leo stood up awkwardly. I was just in the neighborhood, thought I'd stop by and see Chloe. Really? I said coolly. I thought I made it clear I didn't want you in my house. I invited him, Ethan. Chloe interjected quickly. He's been having a hard time. I wanted to cheer him up. Cheer him up? I've seen how you two cheer each other up. A hard time? I looked at Leo. About what? Leo's face was pale. It's just business. What about it? I asked, playing dumb. Lost a few clients. Cash flow is a little tight. I see, I nodded. Well, that's unfortunate. But it happens. The market is volatile. Yeah. I watched him force a smile, and savor the moment. Nervous? Scared? We're just getting started. However, I changed tack. I heard your company is leveraged to the hilt. A lot of debt, isn't there? Leo turned a shade whiter. It's manageable. Is it? I pulled out my phone. I have a friend who works at Equifax. I could have him pull a report for you, if you'd like. No, that's okay. He stammered, waving his hands frantically. I know where I stand. You have no idea. Do you think losing those clients was a coincidence? Do you think the banks calling your loans was just bad luck? This was all my doing, and I was far from finished. Good, I said, putting my phone away. Well, if it's nothing major, then you shouldn't worry. Besides, even if the company goes bankrupt, you can always start over. Leo looked like he was going to be sick. Start over. With what? He couldn't even pay the debts he had now, let alone start a new venture. Chloe looked at Leo's stricken face, her own expression pained. Ethan, please, can't you just help him? Your company is huge. One small contract from you could save his entire business. And why should I save him? I asked, turning to her. Who is he to me? He's my friend. And what does your friend have to do with me? Chloe had no answer. Exactly. Why should I save my wife's lover? Could anything in the world be more absurd? Leo listened to our exchange, his face growing darker by the second. He was finally realizing that no help was coming from me. You know what? I should get going, he said, standing up. Chloe, we'll talk later. I'll walk you out, she said, quickly following him. I let them go. I knew that no amount of her comforting could change the fact that Leo Vance was headed for bankruptcy. Besides, the more she obsessed over him, the more ammunition I had. When she came back from walking him out, I was waiting for her in my office. Sit, I said, pointing to the chair opposite my desk. Chloe sat down, looking apprehensive. I have a few questions for you. What questions? You and Leo. What, exactly, is your relationship? Her body went rigid. We're old friends from college. Just friends. Of course. What else would we be? I stared at her, my gaze like ice. She had a tell when she lied. A slight flutter of her eyelids. I used to think it was cute. Now it just made me sick. Are you sure? I'm sure, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Ethan, why are you asking me this? No reason. Just curious, I said, getting up. You seem unusually invested in him for a platonic friend. I just feel sorry for him. Sorry for him? I let out a cold laugh. There are a lot of pitiful people in the world. I don't see you bringing any of them home. Chloe looked down, unable to meet my eyes. If you're just friends, then keep your distance, I said icily. I don't want him in this house again. Am I clear? Yes, she whispered. Watching her squirm, the hatred in my heart grew colder and harder. Great acting. Too bad I've already seen the director's cut. Just wait. Soon you'll learn the true price of betraying me. For the next week, I continued to apply pressure on Leo from the shadows. It wasn't just about business anymore. I used every tool at my disposal. The lease on his office was up. Suddenly, the landlord refused to renew. When he tried to find a new space, he discovered every suitable location had just been leased. When he went to the banks for a loan, he was told his credit was shot. When he reached out to friends for money, they all suddenly stopped answering his calls. In the span of a single week, Leo Vance went from a rising star in the ad world to a desperate man on the verge of ruin. And Chloe grew more and more anxious. She thought I didn't know she was in constant contact with him, calls, texts, even sneaking out to meet him. She came home after each meeting looking more distraught than the last. Worried about your lover, are you? Too bad your worrying won't do a damn thing. That night, she finally broke. Ethan, I'm begging you. Please, just help him. She knelt on the floor in front of me, tears glistening in her eyes. He has nowhere else to turn. If you don't help him, he's going to lose everything. I looked down at my kneeling wife, and I felt nothing, not a shred of pity. I told you, his problems have nothing to do with me. But he's done nothing wrong. Done nothing wrong. Seducing another man's wife is nothing wrong. Whether he's innocent or not is irrelevant. I have no obligation to save him. Ethan, she grabbed my leg. I know you're a good person. You can't just stand by and watch this happen. A good person? I almost laughed. When it comes to the people who betray me, I am anything but good. Get up, I said coldly. You look pathetic. I won't, she sobbed. Not until you agree to help. Suit yourself. I stepped around her and walked toward my office. I have work to do. Ethan, She screamed at my back. Why are you being like this? This isn't you. The old me? No, it's not. The old me would have done anything for you. The old me would have been polite and helpful to your friends. But that was because the old me thought you loved him. Now that I know the truth, things have changed. The next morning, Chloe didn't get out of bed. She was buried under the covers, a small, miserable lump. What's wrong? Not feeling well, I asked, putting on a show of concern. I'm fine, came her muffled reply. Just tired. Tired. Exhausted from worrying about your boyfriend, I imagine. All right then, get some rest. I'm heading to work. Wait. She sat up, her face pale and drawn. Ethan, I'm asking you one last time. Please help Leo. He called me last night. He said he's thinking about killing himself. Suicide? That's a bold move. Too bad I'm not buying it. Then let him, I said flatly. It would save me the trouble of having to look at him. Chloe stared at me in horror, as if seeing me for the first time. How? How can you say something like that? Why can't I? I shot back. What do I care if he dies? He's a human being. He is, I agreed. But what does his life have to do with mine? My coldness seemed to shock her to her core. She never imagined her mild-mannered husband was capable of such cruelty. But this is the new reality. For those who betray me, there is no sympathy. I want a divorce, she yelled, her voice breaking. I am done with you, Ethan. I don't want to be married to a monster. Divorce again? She really is desperate to be free. Too bad I'm not letting her go that easily. At least, not with my money. Fine by me, I said with a small smile. But before we do that, we need to clear a few things up. Like what? I pulled the flash drive from my briefcase and tossed it on the bed in front of her. Like this, for starters. Her eyes fixed on the drive, and all the color drained from her face. What? What is that? Why don't you plug it in and find out? Chloe's hands were shaking. She knew what was on it. I could see it in her eyes. But she still tried to play dumb. Why would I look at that? Because it directly impacts our divorce settlement, I said coldly. If you still want a divorce after you've seen what's on here, then we can go see our lawyers tomorrow. She bit her lip, hesitating, before finally taking the drive and plugging it into her laptop. When the first video file began to play, her face went ashen. On the screen, she and Leo were all over each other, the images sharp and undeniable. Where did you get this? Hotel security, I said simply, from inside Leo's room. She began to tremble violently. You spied on me. I investigated. I corrected her. Your behavior was suspicious, to say the least. When the audio file played, she completely fell apart. Hearing her own voice calling me a sucker, bragging about how she was going to cheat me out of my money, it broke her. Stop it, she screamed, slamming the laptop shut. That's enough. So I asked, still want that divorce? She slumped back against the pillows, looking like a ghost. Cat got your tongue? I sneered. You were so eager to leave me a minute ago. What happened? I can explain. Explain what? I cut her off. Explain you sleeping with Leo? Or explain you calling me your walking ATM? She hung her head, tears falling onto the expensive duvet. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry, you're sorry you got caught. It's far too late for apologies. 06 Neil, I said, my voice devoid of any warmth. Chloe looked up, her eyes wide with shock. What? I said, Neil, I repeated, and apologized to me. Her face twisted in humiliation. Ethan, don't take this too far. Too far. I laughed. You betrayed our marriage, cheated on me, and plotted to steal my money. And asking you to kneel and apologize is too far. Kneel, I barked, and a sudden force in my voice made her flinch. Finally, her resistance crumbled, and she slid off the bed and onto her knees. I'm sorry, she wept. Ethan, I was wrong. Seeing my wife kneeling on the floor before me, a wave of dark satisfaction washed over me. This is the price for your betrayal. Wrong about what? I shouldn't have cheated. I shouldn't have said those things about you. And I shouldn't have lied to you. Keep going. I shouldn't have been with Leo. I shouldn't have betrayed our vows. She broke down completely, her sobs shaking her small frame. Her crying, which once would have torn my heart out, now just seemed pathetic and false. Why are you crying now? I said coldly. You weren't crying when you were having fun, were you? I really know I was wrong. Ethan, please, can you forgive me? I'll never do it again. Forgive you? I almost laughed in her face. Forgive you? I loomed over her. Do you honestly think that's possible? I'll, I'll do anything to make it up to you. Anything? Yes, anything, she nodded frantically. Just don't leave me. Not leave you. Why would I leave you? If I wanted to leave, I would have done it already. I'm staying to make sure you both pay. All right, I'll give you one chance, I said. Call Leo. Tell him to come over. Now. What? She looked at me in terror. You want to see him? That's right. I want to have a little chat with him. Face to face. Chloe's face grew even paler. She knew what I was planning. Ethan, you're not going to do something to him, are you? Do something? I smiled. I'm not a murderer, Chloe. What could I possibly do? Then why do you want to see him? To thank him, of course, I said, my smile turning cruel. To thank him for helping me see you for who you really are. Chloe was shaking, but she picked up her phone and made the call. Half an hour later, Leo arrived. The moment he walked in, he could feel the tension in the room. Chloe was kneeling on the floor, her eyes red and puffy. I was sitting on the sofa, my expression like stone. Ethan, he began tentatively. You wanted to see me? Sit, I said, gesturing to the armchair across from me. He sat down nervously, avoiding my gaze. I want to talk to you, I began. About you and my wife. The blood drained from Leo's face. Ethan, I don't know what you're talking about. You don't. I took my laptop, opened it, and started the video file. Then maybe this will refresh your memory. When the familiar scene from the hotel room filled the screen, Leo froze. That's... So, do you understand now? I asked with a cold smile. Leo glanced at the screen, then at Chloe kneeling on the floor, and the reality of the situation finally hit him. Ethan, I can explain. Explain what? I cut him off. How you seduced my wife? Or how you two sat around bad-mouthing me behind my back? Or maybe, I added, you want to explain why you call me a sucker? I played the audio file, and Leo's face went completely white. I'm sorry. Ethan, I was wrong. You know you're wrong now. I stood up and walked over to him. It's too late. Leo looked up at me, his eyes filled with fear. Ethan, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? I chuckled. What do you think I should do? I'll leave town. I'll never see Chloe again. Leave? I shook my head. You think it's that simple? Then, what do you want? What I want is simple. I crouched down to his level, looking him straight in the eye. I want you both to pay. Pay what? Your company, your reputation, everything you have, I said, enunciating each word. I'm going to leave you with nothing. Leo's eyes widened as the realization dawned on him. It was you. You're the one who has been ruining my business. Give the man a prize, I said, patting his cheek. You're not as dumb as you look. But why would you do that? Why? I laughed. Because you touched something that didn't belong to you. But Chloe came onto me. Slap. The sound of my hand connecting with his face echoed in the silent room. Now you're trying to blame her? I said, my voice dangerously low. You're a real class act, Leo. Leo held his cheek, his eyes burning with humiliation, but he didn't dare fight back. He knew I held all the cards. Ethan, I'm begging you. He suddenly dropped to his knees. Please, let me go. I know I was wrong. Beg me? I looked down at him with contempt. What right do you have to beg me for anything? I'll do whatever you want. Just let me go. Anything? Yes, anything. All right then, I said, a cruel idea forming. I want you to tell me everything. Right here, in front of Chloe. How it started, where you first slept together, and every detail of your plan to take my money. Leo's face contorted in agony. Ethan, please don't make me do this. You don't want to? I sneered. Fine. Your company is already dead. Your creditors will be at your door by morning. You'll be lucky to escape with your life. What's a little humiliation compared to that? Leo trembled, looking from me to Chloe and back again. Finally, he broke. It started 3 months ago. He said, his voice barely a whisper. At the Langham Hotel. Chloe, still kneeling, looked like she was going to collapse. Go on, I commanded. It was Chloe's idea. She said you were boring, that all you cared about was making money. Leo, Chloe shrieked. How could you say that? Am I wrong? Leo shot back, his fear finally turning to anger. You're the one who said you were using him for his money. You're the one who said you'd divorce him when the time was right. Now that we're caught, you want to pin it all on me? They started screaming at each other, tearing down the last shreds of their pathetic affair. I sat back and watched the show. This was their true love? The moment things get tough, they turn on each other like rabid dogs. Enough! I roared, and they both fell silent, looking at me in terror. Now, here are your options, I said icily. Option 1. I send these videos to every news outlet and gossip blog in the country. Then I sue you both for alienation of affection, and we can have a nice, public court battle. They both looked like they were about to be physically ill. And option 2, Chloe asked, her voice trembling. Option 2, you two figure out, I said. I don't care how. I just never want to see either of you again. What does that mean? It means you disappear together, or I make you disappear separately. Chloe and Leo looked at each other, and I could see the utter despair in their eyes. Ethan, Chloe sobbed. We know we were wrong. Please, just give us one more chance. A chance? I laughed. I gave you countless chances. You had every opportunity to end this before I found out. But you chose to keep lying to me. I can break up with Leo. We can go back to how things were before. Go back, I sneered. Do you think that's possible? Every time I look at you, I'll see you in that hotel room with him. Every time you speak, I'll hear you calling me your meal ticket. Do you really think we can just pretend none of this ever happened? Chloe's last sliver of hope died. She collapsed onto the floor, banging her head on the hardwood. Ethan, please. I was wrong. I'll be your slave. I'll do anything. Just don't leave me. Seeing her so utterly debased, I felt nothing but cold resolve. This is the cost of betrayal. It's too late, I said, my voice like a death sentence. The moment you chose to betray me, we were already over. In the days that followed, Chloe lost her mind. She followed me everywhere, a ghost haunting my steps, endlessly apologizing, endlessly begging. She knelt outside my office building. She camped out on our front porch. She was a wreck. Her hair was a matted mess. Her eyes were perpetually swollen, and she lost so much weight she looked skeletal. My colleagues whispered that my wife was having a nervous breakdown. I didn't explain. I didn't engage. As far as I was concerned, she was a stranger. Leo's situation was even worse. His company went into liquidation, leaving him with a mountain of personal debt. Creditors hounded him day and night. He was forced into hiding. I heard he tried to get money from Chloe, but she was a charity case herself. What could she possibly give him? Their great love devolved into bitter recriminations. They fought whenever they saw each other, screaming matches that sometimes turned physical. Every time I got a text from my investigator detailing their latest public meltdown, a grim smile would touch my lips. This is what you get. One evening, Chloe was waiting for me on the porch again, kneeling in the cold. Ethan, she saw me and scrambled over, grabbing onto my leg. Please, I'm begging you, just forgive me. Let go, I said, my voice flat. I won't, she cried. Not until you forgive me. I looked down at her, my heart a block of ice. You know what? I said, crouching down to her level. You disgust me. Her body went stiff. The old you, at least she had some pride. This thing you've become. You're less than nothing. I don't care. She sobbed. I'll be whatever you want me to be. Just forgive me. Really, anything? Anything. All right, then. I pulled out my phone. Call Leo. Tell him to meet you here. What? You said you'd do anything. I sneered. Prove it. Trembling, Chloe made the call. Half an hour later, Leo showed up. He looked just as bad as she did, with a scraggly beard and clothes that looked like he'd been sleeping in them for a week. He saw us, and his eyes flashed with resentment. What do you want? He asked warily. Nothing much, I said with a smile. Just thought you two lovebirds might want to rekindle the flame. What are you talking about? You two were so in love, right? So be together. I pointed to the large garbage bins by the side of the house. That spot looks private enough. You can give it a try. The color drained from both their faces. You're a sick bastard, Cole. Leo spat. Sick? I laughed. You didn't seem to think it was sick when you were doing it in my house on my bed. Leo was speechless. What's the matter? Not in the mood. I mocked. I guess your true love has its limits. We're not like that anymore. Chloe whispered. Not like that. I feigned surprise. Fallen out of love so soon. I guess your epic romance wasn't so epic after all. They both stared at the ground, ashamed. Well, if you're not in love, Then get the hell out of my sight, I said, waving them away. And don't ever come back. Ethan, Chloe started to say. Get out, I roared. If I see either of you again, you'll regret it. My fury finally broke them. They scrambled away like frightened animals. Watching their pathetic retreat, I felt a deep, satisfying sense of closure. This is the price of betrayal. From this moment on, we were truly done. A month later, I got the news about Chloe. She had killed herself. Drank a bottle of drain cleaner in the bathroom of the coffee shop where we had our first date. When I heard, I was in my office, signing off on a new acquisition. Sarah delivered the news gently, her eyes full of pity, probably afraid I would break down. But I felt nothing but a calm, quiet sense of release. Mr. Cole, are you all right? She asked. I'm fine, I said, not looking up from the document. Are there any funeral arrangements? I believe her parents are handling it. Good, I nodded. Send a wreath. On behalf of the company. Sarah stared at me for a moment, shocked by my detachment. But detached was all I was. For a person who betrayed me, death was just an exit. It had nothing to do with me. I didn't go to the funeral, not out of grief, but out of apathy. Her parents came to see me, weeping, begging me to find it in my heart to forgive their daughter. I politely but firmly refused. Forgive her. She was dead. What did my forgiveness matter? Even if she were alive, she would never have gotten it. As for Leo, he vanished shortly after Chloe's death. The rumor was that his creditors had finally cornered him, and, seeing no way out, he had jumped off a bridge. It was just a rumor, though. They never found a body. But whether he was dead or just hiding, it made no difference to me. He was gone from my life. That's all that mattered. 6 months later, my life had found a new, quiet rhythm. The company was thriving, expanding faster than ever. I started going out again, attending charity galas and industry events. My friends told me I changed. I was colder, more pragmatic. I didn't deny it. Betrayal had burned away my sentimentality. I no longer trusted easily. I built walls to protect myself. It was better this way, safer. One night, I was watching a movie at home when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find a woman I didn't recognize. She was in her mid-20s, attractive, with a warm, open smile. Hi, I'm your new next-door neighbor, she said. Sophie Clark. Ethan Cole. I replied with a polite nod. This is a bit embarrassing, but my internet isn't set up yet, and I have a deadline. I was wondering if I could possibly borrow your Wi-Fi for an hour. I hesitated for a moment, then stepped aside and let her in. It was the neighborly thing to do. But inside, my guard was up. After Chloe, I was wary of all women. Sophie was easy to talk to, smart and funny. We chatted about work, life in the city, books, and movies. She seemed genuine, completely without pretense. But I kept my distance. Are you married? She asked at one point. Divorced, I said flatly. Oh, I'm sorry, she said, looking embarrassed. I didn't mean to pry. It's fine, I waved it off. It's not a secret. If you don't mind my asking, what happened? I looked at her, considering. She cheated on me. Sophie's expression softened with sympathy. That must have been incredibly painful. Painful. It was at first. Now it was just a scar. Numb. It was, I said, but you move on. Sophie nodded and, to her credit, changed the subject. I appreciated that she didn't push. When she left, she gave me her number. If you ever need anything, just let me know. I took the slip of paper, but made no promises. My trust was not something I was willing to give away again, not even to a woman who seemed sincere. A year later, I was in my office, signing the last document of the day. The company was now a national leader in its field. I was at the top of my game. The success didn't bring me joy, not really, but it was a welcome distraction from the ghosts of the past. Sarah knocked and came in, holding a copy of the day's newspaper, folded to a specific page. Mr. Cole, I thought you might want to see this. I took it from her. It was a short article from the business section. Former advertising executive Leo Vance arrested in nationwide fraud scheme. So he hadn't died after all, just gone into hiding. And now he was caught. He would spend a long, long time in prison. I read the article, and I felt nothing. Chloe's death, Leo's arrest. They were just closing chapters in a book I had long since finished reading. I had well and truly moved on. I folded the paper and went back to my work. Outside my window, the sun was setting, and the city lights were beginning to glitter. Life goes on, and I had learned how to face it alone. No trust, no dependence, no betrayal. It was a lonely way to live, but it was safe. And for me, that was good enough.